I said the name of the song is Brand New Phone, Sidro. Smartass. That was Brand New Phone. I love that song. Love that song. Welcome. It is another Monday night. We are kicking off the week. It is your Raw review. It is September 8th, 2025. I am the Solomonster. I do not, in fact, have a brand new phone. That was the name of the song. You know, Adam Pearce, can I just mention, Adam Pearce is just as lazy as Nick Aldis is on SmackDown on Friday nights. Because on most weeks, you know, I've made this comment about Aldis before, where he comes on the air, and then he ends up making a main event. He ends up making a match over here, maybe a match over there. And Adam Pearce tonight, we had 3 unannounced matches on this show. You would think, like, over the course of the week, what are these two men doing? They have an entire card to put together. How are they spending their time? This is what I don't quite understand this. We had 3 different matches on the show tonight that were made during the course of the show. Did he just have these wide open gaps in the Raw schedule tonight? Either that or some poor schlub like Tozawa got bumped off the show. But I doubt Tozawa was going to have a match no matter what here on this show. Only thing that mattered on this show, really, was the AJ Lee segment, because that was the segment that everybody was looking forward to. We had the return on Friday of AJ Lee to WWE. She had been away for over 10 years. And they boasted all night about how many millions of social media impressions and views that her return got. It was a big deal, right? One of the more memorable finishes to a SmackDown episode on Friday. And then they were promoting the fact that AJ Lee was going to be on Raw. And it was the same thing tonight, where this was her first appearance on Raw in over 10 years. In fact, the last match that she ever had was on Raw. It was right after WrestleMania 31. So AJ was back tonight. She had a lot to say. First time we've had to hear her speak on TV. And she had a lot to get off her chest about Becky Lynch. And she also turned it into this promo that she cut tonight. She turned it into a promo about mental health, which honestly, I mean, there's some good messages in there. When she's incorporating these elements of her real life into the promo, I thought that was kind of cool the way that she did that. And also the fact that we had a therapy chant on Raw tonight. You know, I have a code for that. It's in the description down below. But it would be far, below me to use this as a way to plug betterhelp.com/Solomonster. But yeah, she was incorporating that into her promo tonight and talking about, the issues that she's had in the past and how other people are suffering from the same thing and you too can overcome it. It was a very uplifting message from AJ Lee. But that wasn't the only thing that she had to say. She talked about Becky Lynch putting her hands on her husband. And Becky Lynch came out and we had the back and forth for the first time between AJ and Becky. And then Seth Rollins came out and CM Punk was on the show, although very, very limited, but he was on the show. And at the end of all of this, we got the match that we all expected that we would get for WrestlePalooza, which is the mixed tag team match. It is now official. CM Punk and AJ Lee will be tag team partners to take on Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. So that now is official. We also had the other AJ on the show, AJ Styles, who had a match, but also there was a bit of an interesting worked shoot promo that you may not have seen because it aired during the commercial break. And we will talk about that and a potential story direction that seems to be developing here for AJ Styles, which could be interesting if they really explore this. I mean, I don't know where this may be leading, but it could be interesting. Jey Uso. The end of tonight's show, Jey Uso came off like a real piece of shit. I'm just going to say it. He came off like a real asshole. The final parting image that we had on Raw tonight was Jey Uso spearing LA Knight, who was in the main event tonight against Bronson Reed. LA Knight and Jey Uso have had their issues in recent weeks. LA Knight has come to the aid of Jey Uso before, and Jey Uso left this man laying with a spear. Now, is this a Jey Uso heel turn? Is it hinting at a Jey Uso heel turn? No. No, they're not going to turn Jey Uso heel. They'll just as soon turn LA Knight heel before they turn Jey Uso heel, especially that they're doing an Usos reunion right now. But it's a bit of character development for Jey Uso that I think is sorely needed on this show. Instead of him just coming out there and being the yeet man and they're not really being anything much to it. They're trying to develop the character a little bit. He's almost acting more Roman Reigns-esque. So it could be interesting. I like that they're at least trying something different with Jey Uso. So we'll see where that goes. But the other match that was made official for WrestlePalooza was involving the Usos, who are now officially going to reunite to take on Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. So both matches that were added to the WrestlePalooza card tonight, both tag team matches. But those are now official. The one thing that we were supposed to get on the show that we did not get was a contract signing for the Women's World Championship match at WrestlePalooza. We have no Women's World Champion right now. The title is vacant, but we now know the match is going to be Io Sky and Stephanie Vaquer. We were supposed to have a contract signing for that match. There was no contract signing because there was no Stephanie Vaquer. I said she's been a ghost on this show. And she was a ghost again tonight. I don't know why. I don't know what happened. I hope if it's anything legitimate that she couldn't be there. I hope it's nothing serious. But we did not get that segment. You should also just keep in mind, and I've said this last week, I'll remind you again, Raw next week is starting early. Raw next week starts at 7 Eastern instead of 8. And it will be that way for the next 3 weeks. And possibly longer. But they were really just pushing next week's show as starting at 7 Eastern. So just be aware of that because that means that I'll be going live an hour earlier as well because Raw is going to be ending at, 9:30, which means I'll be here with you at 10 instead of 11 next Monday. Something to look forward to. But yes, this is your Monday Night Raw review. Again, it is September 8th, 2025. I am the Solomonster. Thank you for hanging out with me here on a Monday night. Like and subscribe if you would be so kind. Super chats are open. You will see them popping up on your screen. I do appreciate all the support, so get them on in, and I will be reading your messages here in a bit. And Sound Off episode 928 went up this weekend, covering a lot of different things and your questions. So if you missed it, go back and check out the full podcast from this past weekend. And I believe last I checked, we were up at number 2 on the Apple charts for wrestling podcasts. All over the country, number 2, pretty good place to be. If you can't be number 1, you want to be number 2. So thank you guys. Now, Joe Tessitore and Corey Graves, they were on the call for tonight's show. Corey was joking around about how, the internet claimed that Wade Barrett was banished to the underworld, or whatever it was that he said. Something to that effect. Wade Barrett is on vacation. He has, or at least he had pre-scheduled time off. He'll be back before the month is over, but he's got a couple of weeks off. And then Wade will be back. I assume it'll be Wade and Joe Tess on Monday nights because Michael Cole and Corey Graves now are doing SmackDown. Tessitore is doing college football on Saturdays, so I guess it's just easier for him to do Monday instead of Friday. So that's the announce shakeup. Jimmy and Jay, they entered together. Actually, Jay entered first from the concourse. And then once he got into the crowd, Jimmy came out of the tunnel and was right there with him. So the Usos are back together. And the Usos, they came down to the ring for the opening segment here. Jay talked briefly about how Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, he was talking, he didn't really say a whole hell of a lot about them. He was very quickly interrupted. Breaker and Reed are out on stage. Breaker tells Jimmy, who is a SmackDown wrestler, tells Jimmy, you must be lost because the Vision runs Raw. Breaker got flustered in his promo, and so when he got flustered, he just acted like he snapped, and he was making a beeline for the ring, and Bronson Reed had to hold him back. It's like Christian Cage in AEW. Whenever he gets flustered in a promo, he has this thing that he does. Or like if he'll misspeak, he'll stop, and he'll tell the crowd, quiet down, I'm trying to speak. Even though sometimes you really don't hear anybody catcalling or saying anything, but it's an easy way for him to kind of collect his thoughts and then start over again. So that's what Braun Breaker did here. All Bronson Reed wanted, he said, was for Roman Reigns' family to acknowledge their tribal thief. Reed said they dealt with Reigns already and Jimmy would be next. So Jimmy told him to watch his mouth, and he made a crack about comparing them to J&J Security. And then the Usos started cracking jokes about Paul Heyman, calling him an orca instead of an oracle because he's fat like a whale. Get it? And then he quoted Roman Reigns, and called him a dumbass. So the Usos challenged them to a tag team match at WrestlePalooza, but they were ready to do it right now. Why wait? Let's do it right now. Reed said, you know what? We can wait for WrestlePalooza. So LA Knight runs out in his street clothes, no music, but he runs out behind Breaker and Reed, who are like halfway down the aisle now. And he runs out behind them in street clothes. He's wearing a hat on his head. It took me like 3 or 4 seconds before I realized who it was. I didn't even know it was him at first. I think the hat threw me off. So he attacked them from behind. He was quickly outnumbered. The Usos hit stereo dives out onto Breaker and Reed. Jay and Knight, they threw Reed inside the ring. They took turns punching him. Knight went for a BFT. Reed shoved him towards Jay. Knight, though, stopped short so he wouldn't crush him and collide with him in the corner. But then he moved out of the way when Reed came in for a splash, and so Jay took the splash. Jimmy super kicked Reed out of the ring, and then Knight and Jay were bickering to end the segment. Now, in the back a little bit later, Knight told Byron Saxton that he didn't care about the Usos reunion. He didn't care about their match at WrestlePalooza. If Jey Uso had a problem with him, they could deal with it face to face. Knight said that he wanted one of the Bronze. Didn't matter to him who it was. He wanted one of the Bronze in a match tonight. It could be Bronson Reed. It could be Braun Breaker. It could be LeBron James. It could be Little Bronny. It could be Charles Bronson, for all he cares. See, I would like to see that match. LA Knight and Charles Bronson. I don't believe Charles Bronson is among the living anymore. I could be wrong about that. I mean, he was old back in the 80s when he made Death Wish, so I can't imagine he's still around. But LA Knight and Charles Bronson, I would pay some money to see that. Not a lot of money, but maybe like drop a super chat or something like that. I would be willing to do that. But he goes, so long as they have Braun in their name, that is the only thing that matters. He just wanted to beat the piss out of somebody named Braun. And then he said, yeah. And that was the end of LA Knight's promo here. I would like to point out something to you. LA Knight, since he has moved to Monday Night Raw, LA Knight worked that number one contenders gauntlet match. Okay, we're going to go all the way back now to July 14th. LA Knight was part of that gauntlet match. He didn't win, but Braun Breaker was also in that gauntlet match, okay? August 4th, LA Knight wrestled Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship on Monday Night Raw. Obviously, he didn't win the title. August 11th, LA Knight teamed with CM Punk against Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. August 25th, Braun Breaker beat LA Knight. Clash in Paris, LA Knight was part of a four-way for the World Heavyweight Championship, which he did not win. Last week, Monday Night Raw, LA Knight and Jey Uso against Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. And then tonight, September 8th, on Raw, LA Knight against Bronson Reed. How many more combinations of this can they possibly come up with? They're going to have to add a new member to the Vision just so they could wrestle LA Knight. So he doesn't have to wrestle Seth Rollins or Braun Breaker or Bronson Reed just to get somebody new in there. And then after that, they could do like a six-man tag. And they could have him team up with two other people to take them on. I'm just wondering how many combinations of this we're going to see. Now, look, I mean, he was in the main event. Most, if not all of those matches that I just mentioned were main event matches. The Gauntlet match, Clash in Paris, tonight. So that's good. That's great. That's great. He's in the main event. The problem is he never wins. If you wanted to know the last time that LA Knight won a singles match on television, you would have to go all the way back to Saturday night's main event in mid-July when he beat Seth Rollins. And the only reason he beat Seth Rollins was because of the angle they did where Rollins was injured. And so he quickly beat him with a BFT and pinned him, and that was it. That's the only reason he even won that match. That's how far back you would have to go. We're talking almost 8 weeks. Not one singles victory on television for LA Knight. You could put him in all the main events you want to put him in, but at some point, he has to start winning. Every time you do this, for all the people that still cheer for this man when he comes out, which is great to see, it's good for him that he still has the support of the fans for the most part, but every time he goes out there and he loses another match, it just erodes that credibility bit by bit by bit in the eyes of the fans. Because you will get to a point where people are like, all right, you know what? We've seen enough here. This guy doesn't belong in the main event. Because he can't win a match to save his life. Like, when does that end? It's a great place to be, right? In that main event. Everybody wants to be in the main event. But everybody also wants to win a main event every now and then. And that's something that we're going to have to start seeing soon with LA Knight. Now, in this segment, we also had an Usos reunion, which we knew was coming. And the match is official for WrestlePalooza, so they'll be taking on Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. I guess Jey Uso now goes from main event Jey Uso to opening match Jey Uso. At least at WrestlePalooza. We had AJ Styles. Not the only AJ we would see on this show, but the first one. AJ Styles going up against El Grande Americano. AJ entered first, and they went to a commercial. Yes, Hog Dog says, it's sad, Solomonster. It is. It is sad. After all the shit... Now, glorious is not a word I would use to describe what is going on right now with LA Knight. That's actually the opposite of what I would say. But Adam, thank you for the $20 drop. Adam, absolute cinema. I was going to say, it's sad, though. This man was just, he was sucked into the bloodline vortex for so many months on SmackDown. And I begged them, please move this man to Raw. And now he is stuck in the vortex of the Vision. He goes from the bloodline to the Vision. Poor bastard. AJ Styles here. He entered first, and they went to a commercial break. During the break, because I know some of you didn't see this, AJ's on the mic, and he talks about El Grande Americano costing him his match with Dominic Mysterio last week when he was trying to win the Intercontinental title. And he said he's got nobody to watch his back anymore. And he specifically mentioned Anderson and Gallows. Anderson and Gallows are not here anymore. Michin, he mentioned, she's on SmackDown. Now, he didn't mention Omos, his former tag team partner. But there was a segment that WWE uploaded, I think earlier today, to their YouTube channel from last week when they were in Paris, and AJ got that great reception from the crowd. And then he lost, but he came backstage and they interviewed him like right after he came to the back. It's like a 2.5-minute video. And they started this angle in that video because what he said here, he basically said in that video where it's like, I don't have anybody to watch my back anymore. I don't have a clique anymore. You know, I don't have a club anymore. Anderson and Gallows are gone. He mentioned Omos. Omos is not around. I'm all by myself. I'm all alone. So he continued here from what you saw there in that video. And he said, so again, he mentioned that those guys aren't around anymore. He said, it's as if someone back there doesn't want me here. Someone back there doesn't want him to win. They don't want him here, period. He said, the rest of the world is at commercial right now, but I'm telling you something that I'm not supposed to be saying. I'm telling you something that you're not supposed to be hearing. Somebody doesn't want me here. And then they came back from commercial and they just picked up, and the announcers didn't say anything about any of this, but it was interesting. It's interesting that, you know, they obviously want people to think that he is taking shots at Triple H, right? They're trying to get people talking about AJ being upset with Triple H, that maybe there's heat there now between AJ and Triple H. They're trying to blur the lines, a little work shoot action going on here with AJ Styles. And I don't know what this is supposed to be leading to. If anything, I would hope it's leading to something. But again, this happened during the commercial and was never acknowledged on TV. Maybe they're testing the waters with something, but it's good to see them at least trying to delve into an interesting story with AJ. Now they just have to pursue it and follow up on it and give us something that, is going to make things more interesting with AJ than they have been in a very, very long period of time. AJ Styles was basically a non-factor for many months. Only recently has he been squabbling with Dominic Mysterio. And their story is not over yet. Right, they're going to meet again. In fact, we will likely see AJ in Vegas getting involved in some way at Worlds Collide. I would be surprised not to see him there. But as far as here, Styles attacked El Grande Kaiser during his entrance, beat the crap out of him until the referee decided to start the match. After Styles clotheslined him out of the ring, Styles continued to beat him up. He had him set up for a phenomenal forearm a little later on when a second Grande Americano. I don't know if this was Pete Dunne. I know he sometimes is under the mask. I didn't get a good look at his face, so I don't know who was playing the role of the second Americano here. But this person comes out in a tracksuit to grab him by the leg while Kaiser was distracting the referee. Kaiser took control, so it was time for a commercial. And Styles made his comeback when they returned. He hit a rack bomb for 2. Kaiser begged off and he backed into the corner. AJ fell for it, so Kaiser dropped him over the top turnbuckle and then hit a blockbuster for a 2 count. Styles was about to go for a Styles clash a little later on, but stopped what he was doing when the other masked man jumped up on the apron. Dragon Lee ran out to take out the second Americano, and then Styles gave Kaiser a Styles clash, and he picked up the win. He rolled him into it, too. I actually like the way they did this finishing sequence. It was pretty smooth. And I'm just happy that AJ won, because this could have gone either way. But AJ picks up the win, which was good to see. And the crowd popped big, too. I mean, AJ's always over, and it wasn't like Paris. They weren't singing to him the entire match. But they were definitely into Styles, and they popped big for the win. I will say this, the dual Americano stuff, if they don't change it up in some way or just freshen it up in some way, it is getting very repetitive and not in an interesting way. It's like, okay, we've established now that there are multiple El Grande Americanos, and if you're just going to have them run out there every week and pull this shit and not sort of move this along in some meaningful way, it's going to get old very fast. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2, it's a good night when AJ Styles actually goes out there and picks up a win. Having him cut that work shoot during the commercial and not on TV was certainly a choice. I hope it's leading to something good. If it is, we should start to see him popping off soon on TV. If they keep it to just the commercials, this ain't going to go nowhere. It's like the New Day. The New Day every week, they'll end up getting a little bit of time on the actual show. But for the most part, they have become the guys that are trotted out there during the commercial breaks to just cut promos. And they don't really do anything terribly meaningful on the shows themselves. Now they have themselves, involved with Penta in this story, and so they get a little bit of time on TV. But the key with AJ is, if he's going to be doing stuff like this, it has to be done on the actual television show. And the announcers didn't acknowledge anything that was said during the break. So I want to say that I am interested to see where it's going, but I'm cautious to see how they follow up. Sometimes they'll do stuff like this and they won't necessarily follow up in a major way. This has to be leading somewhere. I don't know where it's leading, which is good. Surprise me, but just do something interesting with him. Backstage, Adam Pearce was talking to Io Sky, and we had the unfortunate announcement here. Stephanie Vicaire, he said, was unavailable tonight. So therefore, he had to cancel, or at least postpone, their contract signing. But he assured Io that their championship match, he sees no reason why it would not still be on between her and Stephanie for WrestlePalooza. Nikki Bella then approached Io and put her over. Asuka and Kyrie barged in. Asuka then told Nikki to leave. Nikki told Asuka to show some respect. Asuka laughed at that and offered to beat some respect into her tonight. And Nikki accepted. So Kairi, after Asuka walked away, Kairi tried to apologize to Io, but then you heard Asuka in the background calling her away. This is the new thing now that we get every week. No Stephanie on the show. I hope it's nothing serious, because she was scheduled to be here. So whatever it is, let's assume there was a legitimate reason for her not to be there. Like I said, hopefully it will not impact the match at WrestlePalooza, because this whole situation with Stephanie, where she won that Battle Royal at Evolution, I think she had one match on Raw. I think it was maybe the Monday after, but she had one match on Raw after that. She has been a ghost on this show. And those rare occasions where we see her, it's for 5 seconds, 10 seconds in the back. She hasn't been on the main roster very long, but she was already getting over, and she's already, fairly popular, but she still hasn't been established yet. And this is why I laugh when there are people who think that she should go in there and beat Io Sky to win the championship. Why? She hasn't even been on the show. Having her win the championship right now would be the worst thing that you could do, because it wouldn't mean anything. Io has to win this match. Every week that goes by that Stephanie isn't even on the show, it just illustrates that point that much more. There's no purpose in putting the championship on Stephanie right now. I hope she's at least on the show next week. There's no guarantee she will be. Maybe she'll just show up at WrestlePalooza and just wrestle the match without even making any other appearances. I don't know. But I certainly hope the match happens. And I'm very much looking forward to that match taking place. But the idea of Stephanie winning the championship at this point, when they've done absolutely nothing to build it up, it confounds me that there are people who think that Stephanie should win that match. Put aside your personal liking of Stephanie. I'm sure there are many people. She's very popular. They love Stephanie. Put that aside, your personal bias aside there for a second. You don't honestly believe that they should put the championship on her right now. You cannot believe that that is the best way for her to win that first title on the main roster, because there's just so many other ways to get her there. And it doesn't have to be Io. It could be Rhea. It could be Becky. Whoever the champion is, when the time comes for her to win the title, tell that story. Build her up. Really make her into something first. And that way, when she wins that title, it'll be such a bigger moment. And then she can get a long run with it. If she does win the title of WrestlePalooza, I think she drops it within a month. I don't even think she holds it for very long, because she's going to run into Rhea Ripley. Probably not going to end well for Stephanie when that happens. As it is, I am very surprised how Rhea has sort of just faded into the background on this show. Maybe not such a bad thing, because there were people who were really resenting or starting to resent her, and nothing that she did wrong. Just people were, just getting, I guess, sick of Rhea Ripley, which is what happens when you are so dominant the way that she is. People start to turn against you. People get very fickle. It might not be such a bad thing that she sort of faded into the background on this show. I'm surprised, though, because she is still one of the most popular performers in the company, and she has just been a complete background player for some time now. Maybe it's because they know Perth is coming up and they're going to really build her up for those Australia shows. She's taken a back seat. It's given other women now they're doing the Becky and AJ stuff. For a while, it was Becky and Lyra. Now they're doing the story with Io and Asuka. Rhea's a part of that story, but just, only a part of it. Again, it's not such a bad thing. I'm surprised that she has no match for WrestlePalooza. We just came off Clash in Paris. Now WrestlePalooza. No Rhea Ripley match. Very surprised by that. We had Lyra Valkyria. Speaking of Lyra. Lyra was in action against Raquel Rodriguez. Raquel took control after catching Lyra's flying crossbody attempt and hitting a fallaway slam. Rodriguez wrenched Lyra back first against the ring post before hitting consecutive corkscrew elbow drops to the back. Rodriguez continued to work over the back during the commercial break. Lyra, though, made a comeback with a spinning heel kick. She hit some sort of bulldog jawbreaker combo and then a tornado DDT. Valkyria went for a sunset flip powerbomb. This was actually a pretty cool spot. So Lyra's on the ropes. She's trying to do the sunset bomb, right? Off the ropes. And Raquel is holding on to the top rope with her grip. Valkyria is basically in like suspended animation where she's in like mid move, but she's just, and this is really where Corey Graves on commentary was putting over Raquel. But really it was Lyra and Lyra's strength and Lyra's core strength here where she's in like mid move and just suspended there. And then she kind of flips herself back over and she tries it again. And then eventually she does hit the power bomb. But just visually, I thought it looked kind of cool. And it was a little weird that Corey gave Raquel more of the credit for it because it was really Lyra who looked impressive on that spot. Lyra tried going for Nightwing. She dropped Raquel, though, partially because her back was hurt. She was selling that. Also because she saw Roxanne hop up on the apron. Roxanne Perez was out there. Valkyria and Rodriguez, they traded counters until Valkyria applied a deep cradle, only for 2. She hit a Shining Wizard. Did Lyra? She went up top. She couldn't quite get her footing. And then Raquel got up, grabbed her, hit a Tejana bomb, and pinned her to win the match. So Raquel Rodriguez comes away the winner. This was good stuff. I enjoyed this match. There might have been a couple of spots where it was a little slow, but the match I thought was really good. Raquel has really upped her game since the public feedback that she got from Kevin Nash. When Kevin Nash was talking about on his show how she needs to work bigger. She does come across as one of the bigger women in that division. And so she needs to work bigger because he felt like she was selling too much. And then, I remember hearing about that and thinking, you know what? He's not wrong. He's not wrong. And then somebody in an interview asked her about it, and she said she wasn't offended by it. There's a lot of wrestlers who probably would have responded passive aggressively, or they would have shot back, at the person. And she was like, oh, well, if Kevin Nash is saying that, then that's something I think I'm going to have to look into doing. She took it as constructive criticism, which I think is how he intended it. And since then, you do notice her working, very much in the way that he had suggested in her matches. But she's had some good matches on TV against different people. So, slowly but surely building up her profile to where at some point in 2026, I could see her holding either the Intercontinental title or the Women's World title. Not right now, not anytime in the near term because they have enough people in that mix. But she'll get there. And Roxanne too. Roxanne is destined for that spot as well. But I enjoyed this, and also good for Lyra because the crowd seemed more invested in Lyra than they have since, I guess, the Becky feud. But then I thought to myself, well, she hasn't really wrestled lately. So I don't know. I mean, maybe they were always invested in her. We just haven't had the chance to really see the crowd get into one of her matches in a while. I don't know, but she hasn't really been involved in a match like this on TV in some time. A lot of it's been these backstage segments where she's talking about Bayley, who apparently she didn't give a shit about, but now she does. I don't know, but the crowd was invested in Lyra. They were cheering for her, getting behind her, so that was a good sign. Now, in the back after this, the War Raiders were palling around with Penta. Remember, because they wrestled together in that 6-man tag recently. So then Penta sees Adam Pearce, and he grabs Adam, and he goes, Adam, everybody loved Penta when he came to WWE. But he wondered, why don't you love Penta? And Pearce was confused. He goes, what do you mean? Of course I like Penta. Penta tells him that your reigning Intercontinental Champion is a pendejo. And he wants a title match. So then they are interrupted by Rusev. Rusev reminds Pearce that his plan was for him to return, crush Sheamus, and then get a title shot. He didn't specify which title. Penta got in his face, so Pearce made the match between Penta and Rusev for this show. As I said at the beginning of this, we came into this show. There was no match between LA Knight and Bronson Reed. There was no match between Penta and Rusev. And there was no match which was about to be about to take place here in a little bit between Asuka and Nikki Bella. This fucking guy came into this show with 3 matches that ended up happening and taking place that were made in the course of the show. And I ask you again, what do these GMs do during the course of the week? We need some kind of vlog on WWE's YouTube channel to follow these guys around, just so we get a sense of what they do during the course of the week. I want that job. Backstage, AJ Styles told Dragon Lee that he just got done talking about how he had nobody to help watch his back, and then Dragon Lee showed up. So he wanted Dragon Lee to know that I got your back when you need it. Jimmy Uso showed up and shook hands with AJ, and they're all smiles like they're all good friends. Jimmy then spots his brother, Matt Fisher, activating Brie mode. How dare you? But he says it's worth it. It is worth it.
I am the
Shut the fuck up. You know, you're pushing your luck now. You're pushing your luck. Fuck that tree. You are pushing your luck. He goes from Brie mode to the learning tree. How dare you? Thank you, Matt. But Jimmy spots his brother. So he tells AJ, I'll catch up with you. So he goes off to talk to Jay, because he notices that Jay has his bag slung over his shoulder, and it looks like he's leaving. And so Jimmy goes over and goes, what are you doing? And, Jay tells him that he's leaving. Jimmy's like, well, LA Knight's got this match coming up later tonight with Bronson Reed. And Jay wasn't interested in sticking around and helping him. He goes, it's none of my business. And Jimmy said, the vision is our business. Jay asked, how is helping LA Knight going to help me win back my world championship? How's that going to help us in our tag match at WrestlePalooza? Jay said they needed to make them all acknowledge the two of them or smash them. And Jimmy told Jay that you're not sounding like yourself. I thought he was going to hand him a fucking Snickers at this point, since Snickers sponsors this show. He goes, you're not sounding like yourself. You're actually starting to sound a lot like Roman. And Jay said that maybe sounding like himself wasn't working. And then he just proceeded on his way through the metal detector and on his way out of the building. And I thought to myself, even before we got to what happened at the end of the show, I'm like, I wrote character development, ? I go, wow, we're actually getting some character development with Jey Uso for the first time in a long time. I loved all the character development with him when he was, giving Sammy the side eye in the Bloodline. That was the best version of Jey Uso, when he was still a heel and they brought Sammy in and he was the one guy who just would not trust him. He didn't like him. He didn't want him there. He would look at him like he, just wanted to kill this guy. And then eventually, slowly, he kind of warmed up to him. And since then, we really haven't had a whole hell of a lot in terms of recent character development. He's the yeet guy. He comes out and does, yeet. That's about it. So any kind of character development with this guy on the show is a welcome change for me. Now, after that, it was time for the big segment. It was time for the Raw return for the first time in over 10 years of AJ Lee. And she skipped out to the ring, and what was wrapped around her waist? The Women's Intercontinental Championship that she stole from Becky Lynch at the end of SmackDown on Friday night. She got in the ring and she introduced herself to all the newer fans who weren't around 10 years ago, who were wondering why their millennial parents were freaking out so much on Friday, which is true. Her name is AJ Lee, and she is your favorite wrestler's favorite wrestler. She recalled retiring 10 years earlier, and when she said, 10 years ago I retired, and the fans booed. She apologized. She said she felt that she had accomplished all of her dreams in wrestling, and it was the end of her story. She didn't talk about the severe neck injury that she had either. That was kind of glossed over in all this, but that was one of the reasons why she stepped away from the ring. She says she didn't think there was any way that she would return to the ring again, wearing jean shorts 2 sizes too small. She says she went on a journey to accomplish a lot of other crazy dreams that she had, and she did it. She said that most importantly, she went on a mental health journey. She said that she wasn't happy. She needed to take care of herself and just get herself right. She said that when she realized this, she went to therapy. And the fans cheered, and she goes, "Therapy, yeah, let's hear it for therapy." Just kind of like in a joking way, but then she got a therapy chant from the crowd. Finally, wrestling fans, the most important step is just acknowledging the fact that you have a problem. That's a great step for all the wrestling fans out there. So she says she found a way to turn all of the mental chaos into her superpower. She said that it's a daily fight, but she said anybody who is fighting that battle should know that they are worth it. She said that it was one thing to see her husband in the ring with Seth Rollins or Drew McIntyre or John Cena, but it was another to see him in the ring with Becky Lynch. And she said that she wanted to like Becky. She really did. She said Becky is a rebel and a New York Times best-selling author. Somebody in the crowd shouted out at her, "You did it first." So she acknowledged it and said, "Yeah, I did it for..." Well, Mick Foley did it first, but she said, "Yeah, I did it first." She said that she and Becky could have been friends, but Becky had to go and motorboat her husband. When did that take place? What was the episode? I need to go back and see. I must have missed this. When did Becky motorboat CM Punk? I must have, maybe that was during one of the commercial breaks. I must have missed that. So she was interrupted by Becky's music. And Becky walked out wearing these just wild, ridiculous red shades. And AJ waved at her from the ring. So an angry Becky spoke from the aisle and complained about AJ having her title belt. Becky called herself the great... She called herself the learning tree.
The fuck up.
Fuck that tree. She said, "I am the learning tree." A great sense of dread overwhelmed me. It happened when she slapped him. She motorboated him when she slapped him. Okay. Loves cats wants to know what does that mean? Motorboat. Don't worry, somebody in the chat will educate you. I am sure. So AJ apologized, claiming that she completely forgot that she was even wearing the belt. She said that she wore it all weekend around the house and even wore it to bed the night before. She also noticed that Becky had a nice shiner because Becky had taken the shades off. She got all worked up. She goes, "I noticed you got a nice shiner there under one of your eyes." And so then Becky quickly put the shades back on. AJ wondered if she caused the shiner, and she said that she blacks out sometimes, so she can't remember. She laid the belt on the mat, and she told Becky, "Come and get it." Becky told AJ to keep her hands off her title. She said that she already had to bathe in bleach after touching her greasy husband. Speaking of which, where is your husband? She wanted to know. So a CM Punk chant broke out. Becky asked, what kind of man hides behind his wife? She said she would show AJ what a proper man and champion looks like. And that was the cue for the World Heavyweight Champion to enter, and we got Seth Rollins. Burn it down. Out he walks. Becky was all worked up. Seth tried to calm her down. Rollins played it cool and told AJ they can make this real easy. Just give Becky her belt back. Just give her belt back, because we all know that we could just turn around and leave this dump of a city. They were in Milwaukee tonight. I've not been to Milwaukee. I cannot comment on whether or not Milwaukee is a dump. I'm sure there are some very nice people in Milwaukee, but I cannot comment one way or the other. So AJ said that that was a good idea. She never thought that she could just give it back, but actually she had a better idea. She said Becky could come to the ring and take her title back, and then she would give her another black eye, or she would give Becky the title back if they agreed to a tag team match. Her and CM Punk against Becky and Seth Rollins. So Rollins said he knows AJ's been gone for a while, 10 years, and didn't understand how things work around here, but I'm the champion. He said Raw is his show, and the fans are his people. Rollins said that he was going to enter the ring, take the title, and give it back to his wife. So Rollins got into the ring, and AJ hopped over the belt and then blocked Rollins' path. So he tried again, and again, she stood in his way. CM Punk at this point walked out. Unbeknownst to Becky Lynch, who should have heard the crowd squealing, but she was none the wiser, Punk walks out behind her, wearing an AJ Lee t-shirt, by the way. He's wearing his wife's merch, and he's standing behind Becky until she accidentally backs into him. Punk then walked right past her, entered the ring. He grabbed Rollins, picked him up for a GTS. Rollins, though, slipped out of the ring. So Rollins picked up the microphone, and he agreed to the mixed tag match at WrestlePalooza. And AJ picked up the Intercontinental title. She kissed it, and then she chucked it out of the ring, and it landed on the floor. And so now the match is official for WrestlePalooza. It was a long segment, longest segment on the entire show. I didn't clock it, but clearly it was the longest segment. And it was a very good segment. And anybody who had forgotten how good AJ is on the microphone, you were reminded of that tonight. She just the way she carries herself, during her promos. She has a certain confidence on the mic that not everybody has, and not everybody even in the women's division has. She's very, very good. She has a way of communicating with the crowd. She has that kind of girl next door, kind of bashful, but like she can change on a dime, because she was always the crazy girl. She went through that storyline where she was the crazy girl. So she can play it different ways, but you were reminded of how good she really is. And I thought the verbal exchange with her and Becky, and there's more that they could do. And they've already announced that they're going to have a face-to-face next week. All four of them. It's going to be Punk and AJ, Seth and Becky. What more they could say that we haven't already heard, I don't know. But that's going to be the go-home segment for their tag match. That'll be on the show next week. But the crowd ate it up. The crowd was very happy to see AJ out there. Becky, again, did a very good job of playing the heel, who was all wound up and didn't know what to do with herself. And then again, AJ used some of her promo time to incorporate her messaging about mental health. I know that was a big deal to her, in the years that have gone by since she left WWE. And I know she talked about it in her book many years ago. So that was nice. So I just thought this was a home run segment here. And AJ is going to be a very big addition to that women's division outside of the matches that she can have. It's for this reason. When you put a microphone in her hand, she's very good. And so whoever she's going to work with, whoever she's going to feud with, like she'll work with Roxanne maybe at some point, right? Because Roxanne grew up a big AJ Lee fan. And I'm sure they'll go back and forth about that, and that history there. And then AJ and Liv Morgan, when Liv Morgan comes back, right? There's lots of potential matches for her. And she'll be a champion at some point, whether it's World or Intercontinental. She's back full time. This is not a part-time thing. This is not a nostalgia pop. She signed a contract. It's a multi-year, full-time deal, which means she's going to be on the show most weeks, and she's going to have the chance to work with all these different women, including some women that are probably on SmackDown right now. We'll see that down the road as well. So I like this. This was easily the best thing on the entire show. Speaking of therapy, you know who needs therapy? Besides most of the people that I see leaving comments on Twitter on most days. You know who needs therapy? Bayley. Bayley could use a good therapist right now. We got another video with her. She doesn't know what the next step is, but she knows that the last person she wanted to hurt was Lyra. She hurt a lot of people in the past, and most of them deserved it. They forgave her because she's a good person. So Bayley's dark side, we can hear the dark voices. And so we hear the dark voices talking, telling her, save it for your diary. She knows. She knows. Oh my God, can you imagine if I had to hear that in my head every day? I would go crazy too. She's hearing voices. I'm hearing Brie mode. I don't know which is worse. But the voices are telling her, save it for your diary. You know what you have to do to make it right. Then we hear normal Bayley say, I'll make it right. So this all feels like it's building to her just coming on television and beating the absolute fuck out of Lyra Valkyria. I mean, that has to be where this is going, right? It has to be. Or they go with my idea, which was to have the split personality Baileys, but in a way where we get babyface Bayley some weeks, and then we have heel Bayley. She could play both. She could be a babyface, and she could be a heel. Maybe she could even do that on the same show in different segments. But there's a beating coming for Lyra Valkyria. That much I think is obvious. Maze wants to know, do girls still use diaries? I don't know. We had Dawn was in here. Dawn, do you have a diary? I don't know. What are you asking me for? The fuck should I know? Anybody in the chat who wants to help out Maze, let them know. Yeah, women probably still have diaries, but it's in their phone. Everything is digital now. It's stored in the cloud. It's a lot safer to have it on use pen and paper, for the record. We had Penta against Rusev. Penta hit an early backstabber and went for a pin. Rusev, though, kicked out at 1. Short time later, Rusev tossed Penta onto the announce desk. And then with Penta up against the ring steps, Rusev charged in. Penta moved. So Rusev crashed into the steps. Late in the match, Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, and Grayson Waller showed up at ringside. You know, I forgot to mention that during one of the commercial breaks, the New Day and Grayson Waller, they were interviewed. And they're still in mourning over losing their tag team titles, which at this point was, how long ago did they lose their titles? 2 months ago? 3 months ago? 4 months ago? I don't know how long it's been. It's been long enough. But they were in mourning. But then they were introduced as like Mourning Waller, Mourning Kingston, and of course, Mourning Woods. Ha ha ha! Yes. So here they come. Kofi Kingston, Mourning Woods, and Grayson Waller. They show up at ringside. Penta took out Kingston and Waller with a flip dive. Penta then set up for a suicide dive to Rusev after he low-bridged Rusev out of the ring. But as he came to the ropes, Rusev caught him with a punch. And he extinguished that attempt pretty quickly. Back in the ring, Penta hit a code red, which Joe Tessitore called a Mexican destroyer. This was definitely not a destroyer. And it wasn't effective anyway because Rusev kicked out. So then Penta went to the ropes. Woods climbed up on the apron. He ran into a Penta kick. Penta then dove at Rusev, who caught him with a Machka kick out of midair. Almost kicked his head off. And then he covered him and he got the pin. Now, something I noticed here at the very end could be absolutely nothing. Rusev was selling an arm injury. I can't remember if Penta did the arm snap during the match. Maybe he did when I looked away for a second, because sometimes Penta will use the sacrifice. If I missed it and he used the sacrifice, then that probably would explain it. But I don't recall Penta like working over the arm specifically. But he was holding his right arm very close to his chest. And when the referee went to go raise his arm, Rusev told him, no, use the other arm. Hopefully it's nothing. Hopefully he was just selling, because the man just tapped out Sheamus and he pinned Penta. This is not the time for him to be getting an injury here. I feel like we've been hearing about a lot of different injuries anyway in wrestling lately. This is not the time for Rusev to go down with any kind of an injury. So hopefully nothing. As far as Penta goes, can we please get Rey Fenix on this show? Can we have Rey Fenix? I can't even remember the last time we saw Rey Fenix and Andrade as a team had to beat the TLC match at SummerSlam. So, I mean, their team appears to be over. I know Rey Fenix last week was on Main Event. So that's what he's been doing. Move him over to Raw. Get him involved in this story. We can get the Lucha Bros and the New Day. We got the Usos reunited. So at some point we can get the Lucha Bros and the Usos as well. There's different ideas that you can work with here. So just move him over to Raw. And let's get the Lucha Bros back together, because I think Penta could absolutely have a run, as the Intercontinental Champion. I just don't get the sense that that's in the cards right now for him. If it is, great, then go ahead and pursue that. But if not, I say let's get the two of them back together. It'll give Rey Fenix something meaningful to do. Penta finds, his legitimate brother, not just my brother in arms, like his actual brother, to come back him up, and we can get some kick-ass tag team matches out of it. During a break, Vic Joseph interviewed Dominic Mysterio about his AAA Mega Championship match, which is coming up at Worlds Collide this Friday. And he walks out. Now, again, they're on the concourse somewhere. Dom walks in, and the fans are going nuts for him. I mean, they're cheering him like a babyface, and they're singing to him. And they're just ignoring it, because I don't think they were expecting that kind of reaction. Jimmy Uso, now that they come back from break, Jimmy Uso approaches LA Knight backstage. Jimmy said that they should be on the same page tonight against the Vision. LA Knight is like, he's basically like, what is this we stuff you're talking about here? Knight says he wasn't interested in anyone's help anymore. He tried to play nice, and he got super kicked in the mouth for it. Knight also recalled being cost the world championship by Jay and Jimmy on separate occasions. And he said that if Jimmy really wanted to help, don't help. Said that he's going out there and he's doing it alone. Yeah. All right. There you go. And he was off to the ring soon for the main event. We'll get to that. But first, we got another match to talk about here. Nikki Bella, one-on-one with Asuka. Asuka got her entrance during the commercial break. For shame. For shame. There were dueling chants for both women as the match began. Asuka dodged a baseball slide and then hid behind Kairi Sane. Nikki shoved Kairi aside, allowing Asuka to kick her in the face and take over ahead of a commercial break. Asuka hit a German suplex following the break. Nikki, though, avoided a missile drop kick, and she fought back with strikes and a springboard kick for 2. Hey, this one actually connected. There you go. Nikki blocked an Asuka lock and hit an Alabama slam for 2. Asuka came back with a roundhouse kick, a spinning heel kick, and then applied the Asuka lock, and she got the submission in form of tap out. So Asuka picks up the win here. I will say this. It was a better outing for Nikki, slightly, than the one that she had with Becky at Clash in Paris. Although it looked like she was moving in slow motion a few different times during this match. Thankfully, Asuka won, as she should. And she should win, because right now, in this story that is ongoing right now with her and Kairi and Io, and I guess, Rhea as well, they need to keep Asuka looking strong for this story. So it only makes sense for her to start racking up some wins. Backstage, Finn Balor, JD McDonough, Raquel Rodriguez, and Roxanne Perez were all together in the Judgment Day clubhouse. Balor congratulated Raquel on her win earlier against Lyra Valkyria. Said that Roxanne has the chance to do the same because she's going to be wrestling Lyra on the show next week. Is that when we see Bayley? Or one of the 3 faces of Bayley? At least, right? 3 faces. We have current Bayley. We have Hugger Bayley. We have Ding Dong Hello Bayley. Did I cover all the different versions? Is there another version of Bayley that I'm missing? Maybe we'll see her next week. But Dominic Mysterio walks in. Balor wondered, where have you been? And Dom said that he was preparing for his AAA Mega Championship match at Worlds Collide against Vikingo. Balor wondered if Dom was busy hanging out with his new best friend, El Grande Americano. Balor said nobody wants to lend a helping hand unless they're getting something in return. And Dom insisted, he goes, it's not like that. Says Americano is just trying to help because it's a lucha thing. You guys just wouldn't understand. So Dom said he might not have needed any help had the others not been banned, and then he was mumbling to himself as he stormed off. So Raquel said, or Roxanne said, maybe I should go talk to him. And she chased after him, and Rodriguez looked like maybe she thought something was up here. Elsewhere in the back, Asuka confronted Nikki Bella. Asuka said that she did to Nikki what Io would do to Stephanie Vicaire. And Nikki, who just tapped out, starts acting all tough. She's acting like a tough girl here. And she says, I'm ready for round 2. Sure, why not? Go ahead, give her another ass kicking. So they argued until Nikki shoved Asuka. Camera panned out to show Rhea Ripley, who magically appeared beside Nikki. Ripley asked if there was a problem. And Asuka said that she had 2, pointing at them. Asuka called herself the top woman in WWE, so Ripley reminded Asuka that Io, not her, was challenging for the championship at WrestlePalooza. Asuka told her to zip it and left. And then Kairi stood there awkwardly until Asuka called her away. And that led into the main event here on this show between LA Knight and Bronson Reed. Another main event for LA Knight. How do you think this one went? I'll give you one guess. Braun Breaker was there too. He caused a distraction while Knight was at ringside. Back in the ring, Reed put Knight down with a big clothesline. Back at ringside, Breaker caused another distraction, but Knight sidestepped a charging Bronson Reed and shoved him into the ring post. Then Knight ran him into the ring steps. After a break, inside, Knight was in control when Reed tossed him over the top rope to the floor. Reed went to the floor. He charged at LA Knight, who sidestepped him again, and Reed went flying over the timekeeper's barricade and into the timekeeper's area. Knight then climbed on top of the announce desk, and I think he ran from the announce desk to the top of the barricade and then jumped off. And it might have been a double axe handle, but whatever it was, he took Reed down in the timekeeper's area. Back inside, Knight went to the middle rope and then jumped up to the top rope and hit his diving elbow drop. Does he have a name for that? Everyone gives every move a name now. Does he have a name for that thing where he does the double jump there to the top rope? Does he call it like the yeah drop? Yeah! I don't know. I mean, does he have an actual name for it? I'll use the name. I just don't know if he has one or not. I'll assume he doesn't. Maybe because he never wins with it. So there's no point in giving it a name. So Breaker was up on the apron when Knight was about to set up for a BFT. So Knight rushes over to knock Braun Breaker off the apron, but then he turns around and he turns into a Death Valley driver that Bronson Reed calls the Jagged Edge. And LA Knight loses another main event. Hey, at least we didn't get a disqualification. I'll take my victories where I can get them. We went on this horrendous streak of disqualification finishes and main events on this show 4 or 5 weeks in a row. At least we got a clean, well, I can't call it a clean finish, but we got a finish. We got an actual finish here to this match. Now, the heels attacked Knight when it was over. Jimmy Uso ran out, and he threw super kicks at Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. Breaker, though, put Jimmy down with a spear. So Jey Uso then makes his entrance. So I guess he never really left, or he had second thoughts. He tried to help his brother. Breaker put Jey down with a spear. Breaker put the Usos next to one another as Reed went to the ropes. He was setting up for the tsunami splash. He was going to crush both twins here at the same time. When LA Knight returned to the apron, he had a chair in his hand, and he blasted Reed in the back with it to knock him off the ropes. Then Knight tossed the chair at Braun Breaker's head. The heels fled while Knight stood tall with the chair. Knight went over to Jey, and he asked, are we good now? Then he helped Jimmy to his feet, and they shook hands. But Jey Uso then spears LA Knight, even though he just helped them. He spears LA Knight, which drew some boos. It was mixed reaction, but there were definitely some boos there from the crowd. Jimmy was surprised. It's not like he saw this coming. He was like, what the hell got into you? And Jey did the yeet gesture, and the fans yeeted him back. Jey, though, had this real angry look on his face while he was looking down at Knight, and he said, now we're even. That's how they went off the show. Or the show went off the air. It was a solid main event between these two. Surprising development that I was not expecting there at the end. Not a heel turn. There's going to be some people who look at this and wonder, does this mean Jey Uso is a heel? Was this a turn? Is it teasing a turn? Oh, it's teasing a turn, sure. But again, I think that they'd be way more likely to turn LA Knight before they turn Jey Uso, especially now that they have an Usos reunion to do. And I don't see Jimmy going heel. Although Jimmy may be a heel to some for taking Naomi out of the picture for a while. But yeah, I don't see this as a heel turn for Jey. I see it as something that they will tease. I see it as something where he is adopting a new attitude. And I think it's a welcome change. You know, the Yeet Man stuff will only get you so far. If he's going to be a recurring character on this television show, you know, you need to do something to keep people fresh. You need to do something to keep them interesting. Again, I didn't see that coming at the end there. He was definitely looking more, you know, angry and irate than we normally see him. Good. Anything they could do to help make Jey Uso a little more interesting as a character is okay with me. LA Knight, look, I mean, he continues to be over with the live crowds and he continues to get involved in these main events, which is a spot that you would think like, oh, that's a great spot for him to be in. But when he constantly loses all the time, and he's lost to all the members now of the Vision. I mean, all of these different combinations of matches, tags and singles. There might have been a tag match in there that he won. I think there was one week he teamed with Punk. Maybe they won that one. But in terms of singles matches, you got to go all the way back to Saturday night's main event in mid-July to find a singles match that this man had his hand raised in. And for someone who is still as over as he is, it's actually shocking how they have booked him when it comes to wins and losses. And I think this will be a great test because people have this kind of debate sometimes, and people have written into the show and have asked the question, do wins and losses really matter anymore in wrestling? There are some wrestlers who would argue that wins and losses don't matter, but there are other wrestlers who would disagree. I'm of the opinion that wins and losses should always matter, and that wins and losses do still matter. They might matter less than they did 30 or 40 years ago. The nature of the wrestling industry and the business and the way these shows are booked, I mean, it's changed so much. So I would agree that maybe it means a little less, but they are still very important. And if you beat somebody enough times, you will beat the credibility right out of them to the point where the people are just apathetic towards them. And that's the worst thing that you could be. Luckily for LA Knight, despite all of the booking over the last couple of years, these people still go nuts when they hit his music. Do they go as nuts as they did, 18 months ago? Maybe not quite as nuts, but he gets a great reaction. The people still like him. Don't squander that. And every time he goes out there and loses a match and then he loses another one, I feel like you're chipping away. And it's not too late, but you're chipping away at it. So, it's one of those things where you look at the pros and cons. He's in the main event, but is it really helping his cause? Is it getting him more over than he is now? The answer is no, it's not. He's still over, but it's not getting him more over. It's not really doing him, in my view, doing him any real favors. Now, it could be worse. He could not be on the show at all. That would be far worse. But I would like to see him at least start racking up a few wins here and there. This story with Jey, we'll see where it goes. I don't know where this goes. I don't know if LA Knight gets involved in the tag match at WrestlePalooza and costs the Usos. Again, they're more likely to turn Knight than they are Jey Uso, which would be a bit of a kick in the balls because he is still over. So if they turn him heel, you're squandering, a lot of goodwill that he still has with the fans. So I don't know that I necessarily think now is the time to do that, but we'll see where this story ends up. And look, it's the same with AJ Styles in terms of them telling a story. AJ Styles is someone who has really been a non-factor on this show for a very long time, a good chunk of the year. Now he's working with Dom, but this thing that they have started with him feeling as if that there are forces in this company that are conspiring against him that don't want him there anymore. And he posted that photo. It was like a graphic on his Instagram. Was it earlier this week? I think or last week. of the hourglass with his logo in it and the sands of the hourglass, right? Kind of teasing that maybe his time is running out. I don't think they're starting a retirement story with him because we're in the middle of John Cena's retirement. They're not going to do the same story. But he has talked about wanting to be retired by the time he's 50 years old. Now, wrestlers say a lot of things. I think AJ still has a few good years left in his body. Maybe he feels otherwise. But is this tied into maybe him either retiring soon or potentially leaving the company? You know, from what I understand, things that have been said, his contract is up, I think, in February. I think before WrestleMania, sometime before WrestleMania. Is he going to re-sign with them? Does he not want to work a full-time schedule anymore? Do I see him going to AEW? I know I get that question sometimes. I don't. Look, wouldn't be shocked if he did because he's got plenty of friends there, but and I know Tony Khan would love to have him. I don't know. I think he's got a good thing in WWE where even when he's done wrestling, he can contribute in so many other ways. But maybe this is feeding into that in some way. You know, I saw his son commented under it might have been under that image. Somebody made a comment about the bad booking or the lackluster booking of AJ Styles, and his son, I guess it was verified to be his son's Instagram account. He posted something to the effect of, agreeing and saying, "You have no idea." I mean, is that part of the story? I don't know. It's interesting, though, right? Interesting they're finally doing something with AJ Styles. So they started some things tonight. AJ Lee was still the highlight of the episode. We got 2 matches made official now for WrestlePalooza, in addition to the ones that were already made. No Stephanie on the show is a fail, but I imagine there's a reason for it. I just hope that it's nothing bad. Hopefully she'll be able to wrestle EOS scheduled. Let's take a look at the Twitter poll. How would you grade Raw tonight? From Milwaukee. 28% of you have given this show an A grade. 42% give this show a B. 20% a C. And 9.6% give the show a D. I think that B rating sounds about right. I think that B rating is bang on there. Let's see what you thought of the show. Try to answer some of these questions here. Get them on in. Go through your super chats. We will also be doing Be the Booker. We need 11 more likes. We get 11 more likes here on the video. We will do at least 1 round of Be the Booker. If we hit that bonus goal in the chat, we'll do 2 rounds. But let's see if we can get the 1. Then we'll go from there. Solomonster is B- rating. Is B- rating people? I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means, brother. B- works too. Victor. We'll start with Victor. It says, John Cena is Hulk Hogan to AJ Styles Ric Flair. I don't understand the comparison. AJ was working with Flair in TNA for a while, but I don't know what the comparison is that you're trying to make. Is MJ the most famous person of the last 100 years? Are we talking Michael Jackson or Michael Jordan? Either way, the answer is no. Who had a bigger impact, CM Punk or Randy Orton? CM Punk. And who are the most attractive women currently in WWE? There are several. There are several. I gotta say though, I have a thing for Stephanie. Stephanie Vaquer is a beautiful woman, but so is Io Sky. Lots of beautiful women in WWE. Terrible dry chicken without flavor. The WWE booking of the mid-card title scene really stinks.
I am the Lord.
Shut the fuck up. Fuck that tree.
Fuck that tree. Our friend Luis coming in with a learning tree. Hey, there's Sidro. Everybody like your Guma here? He's finally carved out some time for me. Says, you have a thing for Steph. I think we all do. I didn't say I was the only one who does. I'm just saying. She's a beautiful woman. But Terrible Dry Chicken says, the WWE booking of the mid-card title scene really stinks under Triple H. They have so much talent, but I feel like Hunter is playing gatekeeper. Triple H's gatekeeping personality is frustrating. I can understand former talents who used to work for WWE being bitter. I can understand their frustration as well. Some people have a right to be frustrated. The booking of the mid-card title scene in terms of like the women's Intercontinental title, much better than the women's US title. Don't even get me started on that. As far as the men's mid-card titles, yeah, I agree. I mean, it's been lackluster. I mean, you don't get any argument from me on that. It could definitely be better. Dry Chicken also says, I'm starting to miss Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as part of WWE's creative process during his 2024 run. At least he understands the audience. I look, The Rock knew how to do right by The Rock. Beyond that, I wouldn't say that WWE needs The Rock right now as part of the creative process. Give me backshot Solomonster says, his take, Y2J won't be employed by WWE nor AEW in 2026. I say you're going to be wrong on that. I say you're wrong. Joseph Stewart, happy birthday to one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, Raven. Today is Raven's birthday. Yes, it is. It is Raven's 61st birthday. Do you remember Raven versus DDP in a steel cage match at Slamboree 1998? I do not. I remember Raven against the... Wasn't it DDP and Raven at Spring Stampede? And then the next night, Raven against Goldberg. I remember that. One of the best matches in Nitro history. Would Raven's gimmick that he did in ECW and WCW work in today's WWE or more in AEW? I think it would work more in AEW. What was the purpose in WCW when they did the Millionaires Club against the New Blood with Eric Bischoff and Vince Russo? They were blowing things up and trying to start from scratch. Right? Didn't they vacate all the titles? And it was like a giant creative reset. And I think the idea was that they were going to try to... The idea was they would try to elevate some of the younger, newer talents by feuding with and working against some of the veteran talents, which in theory is not a bad idea. But WCW was just a creative mess at that point, and they were just too far gone. Also, were you a fan of Sandman and Woman together in ECW? No, I wouldn't say I was a fan of them together. Could the gimmick Sandman did in ECW work in today's WWE and AEW? As the guy who goes around drinking beer and caning people? Sure, it could work. But again, more so in AEW than WWE. In AEW, he would have more latitude to be the Sandman than he would in WWE. Buy or sell WCW 2000 or today's WWE run by Triple H. I mean, it's WWE. Again, I think there are people who really have forgotten just how bad things got. in WCW there near the end when they ask questions like that. Buy or sell ECW or today's WWE run by Triple H? I mean, there are elements from the old ECW that I wish, maybe we got more of today, but I wasn't like a huge ECW fan back then, so. And I can't buy on ECW. Why did they want Rey Mysterio to start wrestling without his mask off or without his mask in WCW in 1999? Because Eric Bischoff was an idiot who didn't know how to market the mask. Or by 99, whoever it was that would have been in charge. I don't know. Bischoff maybe, I think, had already gotten shit canned. Because they were idiots who didn't know how to market Rey Mysterio's mask. Have you seen Robin Hood, King of Thieves with Kevin Costner? I thought it was Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. I think it's Prince of Thieves, brother. What do you think both WCW and ECW could have done to stay in business? Well, I mean, Paul Heyman could have had somebody else running the business end of his company. WCW, to stay in business, I mean, they bankrupted themselves. I mean, by that point, it was too late. It was too late. What they could have done was done a better job of building up their new crop of stars. That would have been the most important thing they could have done. They failed to do that. They went downhill. They just put out a piss poor product. Simple as that. And then it didn't help having people in the hierarchy there who did not like wrestling. I mean, that certainly didn't help. But by the time they were already sick and dying, there was nothing that could be done. They were terminal. It was just a matter of time. What is the difference between Vince McMahon booking or Triple H booking? I would say about 30 years. About 30 years difference. You have a fucking octogenarian who has no business being the head of creative in a wrestling company. Vince also seemed very, what's the word? Not rigid. Stubborn, set in his ways. You know, once he set his mind to something, that was it. Nobody could change his mind. He liked what he liked. He's a very weird guy. He's a very, I think, psychologically damaged individual. And even though Triple H may be doing stuff I don't like, and frankly, a lot of the shows can be very fucking boring, some of the stuff that Vince would do on television, while people maybe could laugh at it, it just made for terrible television. And he just wasn't the same person that he was when he was younger, booking the product. It was an awful television show. And there's a difference between having like a bad television show or a show that's just kind of boring. I'm not even saying that that's a good thing. That's not a good thing. But there are some noticeable differences between the two. We are very lucky to no longer have Vince McMahon booking week-to-week wrestling television. The Sheltered Kid. Truth or Dare? Neither. I didn't play Truth or Dare as a kid, and I don't play Truth or Dare now. So neither one. Death Scythe. Last Friday, I made some predictions for Dark Side of the Ring Season 7. Well, I've added 3 more, including 2 replacements for the DX riots and the Ring Boys scandal. Here's the full list. Rick Rude, Buck Zumhofe, Sean O'Hare, Hana Kimura, Ashley Massaro, Perry Saturn, Larry Sweeney, Bill DeMott, Jerry Lawler, and Test. I think those are all fine choices. Many of them will probably end up being made at some point. They're not all going to be Season 7, though. Some of them could be Season 8, Season 9, if they make it that far, if they get greenlit. But I like your choices. Joseph Stewart, buy or sell Robin or Nightwing? Robin. Sidro. Uh-oh. My neighbor's lawn looks way better than mine. So I called a landscaper and I asked for a quote. He said the grass is always greener on the other side. He asked for a quote. He gave him a quote. See, that's how you get one neighbor to shoot the other neighbor. When you're a smartass like that. That's how neighbors end up on the news. On the 11 o'clock news. Death Scythe, again, thank you for your Dark Side of the Ring list. And Sidro, thank you. Always good to hear from Sidro. Psycho Sidro. William Sanchez with a $9.99. If the roles were reversed and Punk was the heel, he would definitely GTA Becky. If Baron Corbin can hit her with an end of days, I don't see why not. Maybe Seth will tease a curb stomp on AJ. Maybe they're saving it for the PLE. In fact, that's probably exactly why they're doing what they're doing.
By the power of Valhalla, it's vintage coal tar. Holy shit.
Oh, he got a bomb. It is King Nader with a $51 coal tar. Man, we haven't seen coal tar in a while. I think he's just come out of hibernation. That's also 13 out of 15 on the bonus goal, by the way. Two more $10 or more super chats when we do bonus Be the Booker. Hey, King Nader, thank you. Appreciate it, brother. But yeah, I mean, they don't give shit like that away on TV. If Punk is gonna GTS Becky or anything like that, it's gonna be a WrestlePalooza. They're not gonna give that away on TV. You know what? I'm not reading from this list anymore. Hold on a second. Hold on. Let me go back here. That list was pissing me off. Again, it resets to the top. It's impossible to just read things in order. Fuck that list. Fuck that list, and whoever created that new template and updated it, fuck you too. Some mariachi music going on here. Oh, man. Whoever created that, whoever updated that template and actually made it worse. I hope you get hemorrhoids that just feel like the fire of 1,000 suns. Seriously, fuck off. Pick up where we left off here, shall we? Let me just catch up, make sure I didn't miss anybody. But William, thank you. Sidro. We go to Sidro. What did a sea say to a beach? I'm gonna make you wet. Also, what do you call a bald man at night? Moonshine. I like that one. Moonshine. DX Extreme MWE. New Be the Booker Supercard poll is up. Vote for Solo Slam. That's right. So saith David. It was Nightbot. It was not Nightbot. Nightbot would not betray me in that way. Adam, again, thank you for that $20 super chat earlier. No message, just showing some love. Sidro with a 5. Why will the Giant never win a video game soccer title? because he only plays FIFA faux fun. Oh my God. And Saudi don't like the Flintstones. But people in Abu Dhabi do. You know, boo this man. I want you to boo this man. He needs to be booed. He must be booed. Abu Dhabi do. This man is a menace. He must be stopped. The Sheltered Kid, Truth, most attractive female wrestler of all time. Dare, yeet right now. I said, like, prime Tori Wilson was just an absolute knockout. I'll throw her name in the hat. I feel like she doesn't get mentioned as often as she should in those discussions. And that's just me personally. Alexander, LA Knight has potential to be the next Barry Horowitz. Oh boy. You know what? The potential is there. The next Iron Mike Sharp. The next Dwayne Gill. Duff's Vids, Sundays can be sad, but the day before is a Saturday. Why did the hunter miss the buck? He was not aiming directly at it. Ooh, you should have flipped him. I like the Sunday to Saturday one better. I thought you were about to make some kind of Triple H Young Bucks joke there. That totally went a different way than I thought it was going to go. Prince Vegeta, 95. I don't know if he reminds everyone still, but Sami Zayn constantly telling people he will be a world champion, or others saying that he will be a world champion, is annoying and forced. The boos on SmackDown help my theory. Yeah, I don't think that's why he was booed on SmackDown. They might be annoying people, but they're not annoying people that much that would be the reason why they booed him all of a sudden. I don't buy that. Matt Fisher, thank you again for the Brie mode. He says worth it, and then followed that with a learning tree and said still worth it. Barry MK, WWE did post the AJ promo to YouTube. Okay, well, it didn't make TV, but at least they posted it somewhere. Yeah, the fact that they're actively doing that, you know, it's leading somewhere of significance. I don't know where it's leading, but sometimes that's a good thing. Surprise me. I don't need to know every little thing where it's going. I don't want to know that. I don't want everything spoiled for me. Just give me a payoff that's worth it, though, in the end. Duff's Vid says, when it rains cats and dogs, you have to be careful you don't step in a poodle. Oh, brother. Let's see if he can redeem himself. Why are movies starring turkeys R-rated? Because of their foul language. Better. Joe Law with a $9.99. AJ gets the therapy chant, and there's no better segue for using the promo code Solomonster for better help. You said it, not me. Thank you, Joe. And Matt with another 12. Man, Matt's on a roll tonight. We got Duff's Vids with a $4.99. I ate a kid's meal at McDonald's yesterday. His mother was not happy. Terrible Dried Chicken, I have a suggestion. Give Bully Ray a dozen chocolate chip cookies, Bret Hart style, as a peace offer. Bret Hart style. Did Brett used to lace his chocolate chip cookies? Is there some sort of inside joke here I'm missing here? I thought I was the go-to guy for all the Bret Hart insight here. We're at 14 out of 15 on the bonus goal, just for the record. Ah, the laxative. Okay. Yes, boots. Okay. It sounds more like a Mr. Fuji rib. Bobby Means with a 10. Seeing that we aren't that far from 2026, I agree with you on Raquel Rodriguez possibly winning the women's world title, which leads to my question. Do you see her possibly turning on the Judgment Day? I think eventually she'll be out of the Judgment Day. I think everybody will eventually be out of the Judgment Day. I don't think she has to turn on the Judgment Day. She may outgrow the Judgment Day. I don't know about turning on them. Ragnarok. If given the same presentation today, do you think teams like the APA, Too Cool, and the Brood would succeed on the main roster or only in NXT? I think they would succeed on the main roster. Matt Fisher with a 25. Legit question. Is the heat between Punk and Seth real? Have they turned this into a working relationship a la Edge and Matt, or do they end the night by grabbing apple juice together? I think they have either an apple juice, or maybe for old time's sake, maybe they grab a Zima. No, I don't believe the heat between them has ever been real. I think that it has been very well orchestrated for many years. I think Rollins probably hoped that Punk would come back one day, and when he did, yeah, they could play off all of this heat. I mean, look, I'm sure that he was probably upset that things happened the way that they happened with Punk when he left in 2014. But do I think there was heat between them? Do I think Rollins like genuinely disliked him in some way? No, I don't. I think it's all a work. Alexander, AJ Lee can pull a CM Punk versus MJF feud in a promo segment and pull out the photo of her and Roxanne when she was young. Yeah, or Roxanne will pull it out. And they'll show it up on the Tron. Zachary says, Zima. Wow. Taking it back with that reference, Solo. Hey, that's how I roll. That's how I do it. I also just noticed that we have gone 15 out of 15, which means not just one round, but 2 rounds of Be the Booker. It's coming. Oh, it's coming. Death Scythe. Shame the mixed tag team match is not for the IC and world title like the one between Glamorella against Kofi and Mickie James at SummerSlam 2008. Singles titles should not be defended in tag team matches. So I'm glad that they're not doing that. That's how The Rock won the WWE Championship at the King of the Ring in 2000. I think that was a 6-man tag, and the title changed hands. Like, what kind of garbage is that? Prince Vegeta 95, after his return in 01, why didn't WWE give Ric Flair a proper months-long 17th world title chase storyline? If it happened, when would you do it? I mean, the time to, if they were going to do a proper storyline, I mean, around that time in like 03, he had that match on Raw in Greenville, South Carolina, against Triple H. It's on Flair's old 3-disc DVD set. That was a Raw match, so it wasn't like a big pay-per-view they built to or anything, but around that time period, I think people would have bought into that story. If you were going to do it. I think probably around that time. Dry Chicken says, good side, Bailey. Dark side, Psycho Pamela. Psycho Pamela was the killer at the end of the first Friday the 13th. Sidro. Penta left AEW equals WWE make sure he put Penta paper. You really crack yourself up with these, don't you? Like, I can see him sitting there just like belly laughing as he hears the punchline. Duff's Vids, I dreamt I was a muffler last night. I woke up exhausted. That's a great one. But I've heard that one like 7 times. It's still a great one though. Doesn't make it any less good. But I've heard that one before. Jeremy Rose, Bloodline Angry J is coming back. Good. I hope so. Luis with the 12. LA Knight is turning heel, he says. Yeah. Well, we'll see. You might be right. King Nader with the bomb. Hey, Solo, it felt like Raw time traveled back to 2013 tonight. Do you think Triple H is using up his surprise returns too fast? Should he be spreading them out a little bit? Probably. I mean, he's not going to have very many surprise. Who's left? He's not going to have very many of them left. Jericho would be one. Realistically, like in the next couple of years, who are the other big surprise returns? Mercedes is not going anywhere. I don't think Jon Moxley is going anywhere. Who's left? Eventually, you were going to run out of people. Who's left? Prince Vegeta, AJ Styles is on a list with 10 men who held the WWE Championship for over a full year. He's not booked like it. It's a damn shame. It's a shame that he's not been used in a more meaningful way. That I would agree with you on. That's been disappointing. Death Scythe, why is Face Off Mario's favorite film? Because just like Castor Troy, he could eat a peach for hours. Justin G with the 10. I was only just told last week my uncle Ron had and has beat small cell lung cancer. Congrats to my first favorite Ron over Simmons and Killings in order. Caught it before symptoms. Well, that, my friend, deserves an applause. That is awesome. I'm very happy to hear that. Early detection is the key for so many of these cancers. That's very good news. I'm very happy to hear that. Nick Grasso says, we know they are doing a women's war games and Team Becky versus Team AJ makes sense, and there is no other option that that seems right or would be as big. As we sit here right now, I agree with you. Survivor Series is still a few months away, but it's September now, so it's only 2 months. As we sit here right now, I tend to agree with you on that. Sidro with a 5. Bought some shoes from a drug dealer. Don't know what he laced them with, but I've been tripping all day. P.S. I will tag you in my new beats. They fire. You sound like Caveman. We'll tag you in new beats. They fire. Navy 4181. Why doesn't Paul Heyman like to team up when he plays pool? Because Paul Heyman would never let anyone else near his pockets. Thank you, Navy. Duff's Vids. Why did Humpty Dumpty only hunt in autumn? Because he had a great fall. And Dried Chicken says it's Lloyd Christmas from Dumb and Dumber, and he has a question for you. From 0 to 1,000,000, what are the chances of Moxley coming back to WWE? Because you can never put anything in wrestling at a 0. From 0 to 1,000,000, I'll put a Moxley return at 1. not very likely. He is someone who I think, yeah, he'll be, when the Shield goes into the Hall of Fame one day, I mean, he'll be back for that. But in terms of like leaving AEW and signing a contract and having a run, like Jericho probably will, you know, Moxley is someone who I think is genuinely content, like where he is right now. And honestly, like for him and his style and what he likes, and obviously his wife works there with him, I feel like AEW is just the perfect place for him. He has no reason to leave. I don't see it. Jericho, I could totally see. Moxley, I think he's content right where he is. So you're saying there's a chance? Sure. At 1, there's a chance. It's a small chance, but there's a chance. MacTub, why do you think Seth and Triple H feud and match didn't work? Because it was fucking boring. There was nothing interesting or exciting about it. At least that's how it was for me. I thought that whole thing was a giant bore. There was nothing engaging that really grabbed you about the feud. There was history there. They tried to play off that history, but it was just boring. And who would you rank higher overall, Flair or Austin? So hard. I mean, in terms of matches, Flair. Matches and feuds, Flair. Overall popularity, money made, Austin. So if you ask that question, you have to specify what you mean specifically. If it's a more broad, like putting all of that together, who do you go with? I got to go Austin. It's like the Mount Rushmore thing. You know, if I had a Mount Rushmore, Austin's on there. Flair, I don't think. I don't know. I don't know if Flair makes the cut. It's hit or miss. With Austin, it's not a question for me. So by that criteria, I have to go Austin. That's just my gut feeling, how I feel about it. Austin was just a Flair had the longevity as Hogan did that Austin did not have. Flair had a very long career. Hogan had a very long career. But that period of time that Austin was on top, I mean, he was just white hot. And that was just such a lucrative but also very memorable, fun period of time. I can't vote against Austin. I just can't do it. Thunder Force 2000. Now that AJ Lee is back, is there anyone else who would go back to WWE and get the reaction that she and Punk did? I think all those people have already come back. You know, including Austin and Rock, who have come back at various points. So no, I don't think there is anybody else who would get that level of reaction, because they would have to be gone for a long time. Punk was gone 10 years from WWE, or almost 10 years. AJ was gone over 10 years. Remember when Brett came back in 2010? He was gone for 12, 13 years. Is there anybody like that? I think they're all accounted for. There's nobody else that I could think of. Pretty much blew through them all. Victoria. Alexander, are you joking? He says Victoria, maybe. What? No. All right, we got 2 rounds to get to. Let's get to it. It's time to be the booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the booker.
Bash says the Hardys. The Hardys did. The Hardys had that moment already. WrestleMania 33. They were gone 7 years, I believe it was. Came back. I was there, man. That reaction is something I'll never forget. And even more recently, now that they're a part of TNA, I mean, they were on, technically, on a WWE show at the theater in Madison Square Garden. It was technically NXT, but yeah, not even the Hardys. All right, here we go. 2 rounds. We got to go 2 rounds here and be the booker. And we begin with the former AEW Tag Team Champions, the Hangman and Kenny Omega. They were actually just tag team partners a couple weeks ago on TV. And that was from a great match, by the way. Revolution 2020. Still one of the best matches in AEW history. Hangman and Kenny Omega are going to be taking on Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. DIY. How'd you like to open your show with that? Gargano and Ciampa against Hangman and Omega. Tag team wrestling at its finest. You'll love to see it. That is a good start. Women's Be the Booker. We got ourselves Io Sky, the former women's world champion. I like where this is going. I like very much where this is going. Io Sky against... Oh, I fucking love this. Oh, I love that. I could get behind this. Yes. We have Io Sky against Io Sky. I think we may have just booked the greatest match in the history of Be the Booker. How great would that match be? Can we just do that at WrestlePalooza for the vacant championship? Can we have Io Sky against Io Sky? Because you know what? We all win. And Io Sky will become the new women's world champion. Who wins? I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say Io Sky's gonna win. That's a great match. It's gonna be hard to top that. I don't think we're gonna be able to top that tonight. All right, in our main event, it will be the former WWF champion, Kane. There he is with the big eagle over his shoulder. Kane in the main event. Against Jake the Snake Roberts. We got that rare clean sweep. Doesn't happen very often. Doesn't happen as often as it should, but we got a clean sweep in round 1. We shouldn't even do round 2. I don't want to like fuck it up. I'm afraid I'm going to screw it up now if we do a second round. But you guys earned it. You hit the goal. We have to. We have to do a second round. We have no choice. All right, we got to pick some steps. Our first match, this is always exciting. First match here is going to be a Hell in a Cell match. But not just any Hell in a Cell match. It's going to be a Hell in a Cell tag team match. Because we're starting with the tags. We've had a few Hell in a Cell tag team matches before. Maybe the best, New Day and the Usos. 2017, I want to say, I believe. Well, we have Head Cheese, Al Snow, and the Lethal Weapon, Steve Blackman. Head Cheese is entering Hell in a Cell, everybody. If looks could kill, Steve Blackman would be a serial killer. Look at this guy. If you put a block of cheese on my head, I'd probably have that same look on my face. Head Cheese against Randy Orton and Matt Riddle. RK Bro inside Hell in a Cell. Blackman and Riddle would be interesting. I feel like that would be an interesting styles clash between those two. So you may disagree, but I'm giving that the belt. Stipulations. Women's stipulation. Oh, we're putting the women in the big blue cage. Someone's going to get hurt. They're going to have black and blues all over the place. That cage was very unforgiving. That's why they don't use that cage anymore. Who's going in big blue? No. 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 Rosa Mendez. I knew. As soon as we hit the sweep, I said we should stop. We had a good thing. And now we go to the main event. You've wasted the big blue cage. Wasted the big blue cage. Now we have a bull rope match. We have a bull rope match in our main event. Are you ready for the bull rope match? This is bullshit, is what that is. We have Sting. There he is, everybody. If you have the chance to go see Sting at a convention, you better do it quick, because at the end of this year, he's not going to be wearing the face paint anymore. You're going to get Real Estate Steve when you go out to these conventions. But here we have Sting, who looks like he looks like he has just dove into some cherry pie and overate with his dessert. I mean, he really dove into that thing. We got Sting in a bull rope match. Yes, it's the Vigilante against Triple H. My PTSD is kicking in from that WrestleMania 31 match. I don't ever want to see Triple H and Sting in the ring together ever again. I am giving that the buzzer. I don't want to see that match ever again. Fuck that. We went 1 for 3 after a clean sweep in the opening round. Not how it should be, man. Not how it should be. Definitely not how this should be. Of all the opponents to put Sting in the ring with, we're going to run that shit back? I don't think so. Duff's Vids, there are 3 types of people in this world. Those who can count and those who can't. Okay. You saved your best one for the end here, huh? Terrible Dried Chicken, Io Sky, WWE versus Io Sky Stardom in a scaffold match. Scaffold is like one of the worst stipulations ever created. I have never liked scaffold matches. I think they're incredibly stupid. They go up there. They're all terrified of heights. They move at a snail's pace. It's just the dumbest stipulation. And Terrible Dried Chicken, Rosa Mendez versus the Blow-Up Doll from DDT in a tables match. That would be Yoshihiko. If you're going to bring her up, at least say the woman's name. Yoshihiko the Blow-Up Doll, who I believe has a win over Kenny Omega, if I'm not mistaken. Or is it Kota Ibushi? One or the other. You know what type of shit show we need? A modern day take of the Chamber of Horrors match. Do we really need that? Who's asking for this? I'm not. Devin from NJ, how would Solo categorize the eras of The Undertaker from WrestleMania 20 until his retirement? I don't really look at it as that many eras. I mean, from probably 20 to... I don't know. For me, it's like from 20 to like 27. For me, it's almost like one giant era. Then when he changed his hair and he basically had the shaved head at 28, to me, that constituted a new era. Because otherwise, I just sort of blend them all together. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not that many different eras at that point. Maybe 3 different ones. I don't know. I know he had some of the best matches of his career, though, during that era. I know that. And that match with Kurt Angle should have been a WrestleMania match in 2006. But it's entirely possible the streak would have been over at that point. No, actually, you could have just had... Well, Kurt was the champion, right? Yeah, I mean, you could have had Undertaker beat Kurt and then have Kurt win the belt back a month or 2 later if you wanted to. That should have been the WrestleMania 22 match. And I know Undertaker and Undertaker and Kurt feel the same way. They should have done that match over Undertaker and Mark Henry in a casket match. But then you look at like the match with Batista, I know people talk about the match with Edge. Yeah, that was good. I mean, it's not one of my favorite ones. The matches with Shawn. The match with Triple H at 27, the end of an era Hell in a Cell match, the match with Punk. He had some of the best matches of his life. I think peak Undertaker in terms of his physique and the shape that he was in, peak Undertaker is like 2007. Like around that time. Whatever those guys were doing back then, whatever Undertaker was on back then, to me that was like him in his final form physically. And after that, it was just this slow kind of degradation where he just broke down, piece by piece. Terrible Dried Chicken. It's the good son scenario. Don Callis or Eric Bischoff. I mean, if we're talking, who do I let go of today? Goodbye Bischoff. Hope you grow wings. But obviously, if we're talking overall, like ever, I mean, Bischoff was a pretty influential figure in wrestling. There's a lot of things that we probably don't have today if Bischoff didn't get that hour of prime time at 8 p.m. every Monday night back in 95. But today, I'll take Don Callis. Undertaker as the head of the ministry was insane. Yeah, I mean, people, they wear those rose-colored glasses when it comes to the ministry, man. I mean, Undertaker, like ministry Undertaker, I don't know. I thought Ministry Undertaker was fucking boring. Cool music, though. His music was bad. That was actually one of the better themes he's ever had. But I thought Ministry Undertaker was largely just a giant bore. It's probably my least favorite, or certainly one of my least favorite incarnations of The Undertaker. I'm sorry. I said what I said. Austin rescuing Stephanie from Undertaker is an all-time segment. It's one of the more memorable Raw segments. Stephanie throws her arms around him and he's like, he doesn't want to hug her back. Like, yeah. I'm not doing this. Juan Ocampo, thank you for answering my email. Take care, my friend. Take care. Take care, Juan. Love you, brother. Hope you're doing okay. Taker himself even has said the Ministry era wasn't great like he had hoped. Yeah, I mean, the Ministry, and then it became the corporate Ministry. You know, again, it was during a period of time where the product was super hot. So it was another in a long line of factions. And this one, you know, at the beginning of it, remember, he was doing sacrifices. Remember when he brought Midian in and he had some sort of like ritual sacrifice with him and Viscera and, you know, whatever. And then it just got bloated when they added the corporation members to it. But the themes that they had, like the corporate Ministry theme, the Undertaker Ministry theme from 99 was some badass tunes, man. This is back when the music was actually of a high quality in this company. I mean, there's some high quality songs now, but it's not like it was back then. So, I mean, there are definitely elements of like the Ministry portion of the Attitude Era that were pretty badass, but just Ministry Undertaker to me was like insanely boring. And most of his matches were just no good. The only Ministry Undertaker match that I truly liked was the first blood match with Austin at Fully Loaded in 99. I honestly can't think of another one off the top of my head from that year or that period of him doing that gimmick that I liked or thought was really any good. Wasn't Corey Graves one of his Ministry people? What? No, I don't believe so. He was injured throughout much of his Ministry run, wasn't he? Yes, he was. Well, that's why he left in September of 99. Remember, he was supposed to be part of that six-pack challenge at Unforgiven for the vacant championship. And he was announced for it. And then they shot some segment where he basically like walked out. That was to get him out of the match because he needed some sort of, I don't know if it was I want to say it was like a hip surgery of some, it wasn't a hip replacement, but it was some sort of hip surgery, maybe a resurfacing, whatever it was. And they replaced him with the British Bulldog, who was really no good in the ring at that point. This was not the Bulldog of old. Honestly, the Bulldog, when he left WWF after Montreal and went to WCW, like that was the beginning of the end. But yeah, Taker left in September of 99. The next time we saw him was in May of 2000. He was supposed to come back in January, possibly at the Rumble. But that was where, like, right before he was ready to come back, he tore his pec at the gym and missed another 5 months, I guess, 4 or 5 months. And I've always wondered, and I've never gotten an answer to this because I've never been able to ask him. So maybe somebody else will. If he would have come back in January as he was originally supposed to do, was he going to be the American Badass, or was he coming back as some dead man version of The Undertaker? Did him getting hurt again and having those extra 4 or 5 months off, is that where plans changed and the decision was made for him to be more of Biker Taker? I don't know when that decision was made, but I feel like if he would have come back in January as originally planned, I don't know that we would have gotten the American Badass. But I don't think he's ever commented on that, so I don't know the answer. Scumdog 420, hope all is well. How do you feel about the Mets? I feel like I always feel. If I get my hopes up, they'll let me down and disappoint me. So I have tempered my expectations. Whatever happens is going to happen. I remember earlier this season, they had the world and the division by the balls. And then everything just fell apart and they got exposed. They got exposed for just not being that great. So if by chance they make the wild card or something, it'll be like a small miracle. But I hope they can. But even if they do, I don't really have a lot of expectations that they're going to go very deep in the postseason. I honestly don't think they're... Compared to some of the other teams out there, I just don't think they're as good. Sometimes you just have to accept reality for what it is.
I am the Lynch.
I'll take what I can get, whatever they give me. Fuck that tree. We're chopping down trees. We got a big one here from Leopoldo. Says, wow. YouTube won't let me send my Yo Mama jokes. So you know what? Them and whoever came up with that new way of listing chats in their mamas. It must be something on your end, because other people do it and they don't have any issues. I think your phone just hates you. I don't know why your phone despises you, Leopoldo. But I'm glad you were able to at least drop the learning tree. You don't need to make any jokes. Just you dropping a message like that means a lot to me. I appreciate that. But if you're trying it on mobile, I would try maybe on like PC or just like a different way and see if it gives you the same issue. I'd be curious. Or if you're on your PC, try it on your phone just to try it differently. I'm curious now if it gives you the same problems or if it works one way but not another, because that is weird. Or God is protecting us from the jokes. The wrestling gods. Solo, a Jets or a Giants fan? Right now, neither. I don't really care about either one. But it was always like a Mets and Jets thing. We got 26 months of membership. Now the membership messages pop up. Where the fuck were they before? This thing is acting up. B-Money04. Do you think that we will get a CM Punk versus AJ Styles match in WWE? And what do you think about Wardlow's injury? Seems he can't catch a break. Yeah, I mean, he's fucked. I mean, I hate to say it. He's cooked. I feel bad for him, but for some people, unfortunately, that's just the way it ends up. I don't even know what to say at this point. Punk and AJ, didn't Punk and AJ work a match? Didn't they work a match on Raw? I thought they did work a match on Raw. Maybe last year. Well, if they didn't, I mean, do I think it'll happen at some point? If it hasn't happened already, I don't know. I feel like it probably won't. Because it does feel like AJ is really kind of winding things down. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say probably not if it hasn't already. But I could have sworn they had something on TV, unless I'm just... What do they call that? The butterfly effect or something? No, see, okay, so Big G says it was a Money in the Bank qualifier. Yeah, I knew I wasn't crazy. We got Bret Hart with 42 months of channel membership. Buy, rent, or send to the fires of hell on current WWE color commentators Pat McAfee, Wade Barrett, and Corey Graves. I'm going to buy on Corey. I'm going to rent on Wade, and we're going to send Pat McAfee to the fires of hell. Thank you, Bred Hart. Oh, the Mandela effect. What did I say? Is it the butterfly effect? Yes, the Mandela effect. So it was a triple threat Money in the Bank qualifier. We did get CM Punk and AJ Styles. So it wasn't one-on-one. That might be as close as we're ever going to get to it, though. And Nick Rosso. What would have Undertaker done at WrestleMania in 2000? We'll never know. I don't think plans were ever even discussed for it. So anybody who comes up with a scenario, that's really all it is. When I've been asked this question before, I think I've said in the past, I mean, they could have done something with him and Austin or him and Big Show. But I don't know. I don't know. Because again, the last time we saw him was in September of 99. He was still Ministry Taker. Obviously, he came back as a babyface. Had he stuck around, would he still have been Ministry Undertaker? Right? There's also the issue of Austin. Because if Austin wasn't hurt and Austin was around, who would Austin have worked with? Maybe Taker. We'll never know. Then, of course, you have the question of if you did work a match that year, would they have ended the streak? I feel like by that point, they were probably cognizant of his undefeated streak. I don't think they really started to acknowledge it until the year after. But they had to be aware that he was unbeaten. So I would think they would have wanted to protect that. British Bulldog against Regal. Halloween Havoc 93 Fire. I don't remember that match. I remember Bulldog and Vader. I think that might have been at Slamboree that year. And then there was a tag match. I think it was Sting and Bulldog against Vader and Sid. I don't remember Bulldog and Regal. Did they just upload, oh God, on the WCW Vault channel? They just uploaded a pay-per-view from 93. Was it Halloween Havoc? I have to go check. Maybe I'll watch that tonight. I'll fall asleep within 3 minutes, but maybe I'll put that on the TV when I go to bed tonight. I put on some WCW pay-per-view on there on the Vault channel. I was like, okay, I'm going to lay down. I'm going to watch part of this pay-per-view. And it had Tony Schiavone and Jesse Ventura on commentary. And I think the opening match was Flying Brian. Oh, God. Was it Flying Brian against who? For the Cruiserweight title. It might have been Liger. It might have been Liger. I passed out within 3 minutes. Fall Brawl. Okay, yes, that's the one they just uploaded. Fall Brawl 93. It's up on the WCW Vault channel. Oh, God, that was the one. Was that the one with Shockmaster in the War Games match? Didn't Shockmaster win the War Games match by putting Booker T in a bear hug? And Booker T gave up? Fucking terrible. I don't even think he was called Booker T at that point. I think they were still Kane and Cole as the Harlem Heat. Anyway, good discussion here. Thank you guys for hanging out with me on a Monday night. We did well. We had 2 rounds of Be the Booker. That's how you know it was a good night. And I'm going to be live with you again on this channel on Wednesday night. We got the Dynamite post show. And then, of course, we have Friday night. We have the SmackDown post show. They're trying to load that show up a little bit. Drew McIntyre against Randy Orton. I expect the return of Cody Rhodes to be on that show. Tiffany Stratton defends her championship against Jade Cargill. What else did they announced one other thing for SmackDown, and I don't fucking remember what it is, but those are the key matches that they announced for Friday. And of course, tomorrow night over on JD's channel, we have Tuesday Night Titans. I believe we're up to episode 111. So that will be tomorrow. You got a full week of me. So get ready and bring your super chats. Be well, stay safe, have yourselves a great rest of your night. Go check out episode 928 of The Sound Off tomorrow if you missed it. And I'll see you back here for the Dynamite post show. Am I reviewing Worlds Collide? No. I'm reviewing SmackDown on Friday night. And if I am able to see any of Worlds Collide, I will comment on it on The Sound Off next Sunday. That is the plan. Until then, take care, guys.